of William Bradford. He is an example of a class of Englishmen who are often described as Puritans, although, you know, he went a little bit further than that. And his story really illustrates a lot of the best of that movement. He was born in Austerfield, England, a small farming village, to a family that actually owned land. He had a future more to the middle of the English society of his time. His parents died right away. He was raised by his uncles in Austerfield to be a prosperous farmer. Well, something happened to him. We don't know exactly what. We have a really marvelous play called Stepping Stones that gives you our sense of what it might have been. But nobody really, I mean, it wasn't really clear. In any case, at a very young age, he developed an intense interest in the scriptures and in a real and vibrant Christian faith. I mean, that's how he described it. But he really saw a difference between himself and what passed for the average Christianity of England at the time. That's why they were called Puritans, because they had a sense that they needed to apply the religion to their own lives. So that was him. It was to the point that he found out that right in the next village was that group of church folks I was telling you about with the Mayflower. They were separating. He found out about it and decided to join them. Some records say as young as 12, certainly by the age of 16. Now, he made that decision. His uncles were infuriated, mostly because they knew he was finishing off his life in England, because it was basically joining a cult. If you joined a group like this, you were finished in terms of your education, your prosperity, any social station, you're done. He said, it doesn't matter, it's the truth. And when they decided to relocate to Holland, he relocated with them. Ended up marrying one of the girls from one of the families there, and had such a respect that he would, even at the age of 29 and 30, he was vitally involved in the delicate negotiations that formed the basis of their journey to America. Now, Bradford, he was not the first governor. Another man who had a little better family background and a little more money was chosen ahead of him. But that man died really early. And they elected Bradford in the spring of 1621. He would serve 30 of the next 35 years of the governors as their official governor. Now, he was elected annually, and he played a key role in two very critical ways. The first one was Plymouth was broken exactly in half between, as I said before, the people that really had this vision for a restored church, and another half, which were basically Church of England people that were over here to make lives for their families. If you know anything about small groups, if you have that kind of definition at the beginning, it's very easy for them to split and paralyze. And many, actually, individuals came to Plymouth determined to do that, to play one group against the other for their own ends. He was able to keep that colony convinced that the government and the colony's direction was for the best interests of everybody involved. And he did that in the face of some rather remarkable circumstances. Without any police powers, he had no like gang of troops that were personally loyal to him. He had only the goodwill of his neighbors. And he was able to keep that long, which is a pretty remarkable feat. The other thing that he did, which was really important, was for 10 years, Plymouth was the largest settlement in North America almost. I mean, it was a little bit smaller in Jamestown, but Jamestown wasn't one settlement, it was a bunch of them. Here he was, barely 250 people, surrounded by thousands of Native Americans who at any moment could have swept in here, any group of them, and destroyed it. He was able to convince them, both by peaceable gestures and bold action, that these people were to be trusted and not messed with. So he kept that delicate relationship going that laid a foundation for a basic peace in New England that lasted 50 years. And allowed New England to develop as a civil society.
It was the basis of the first Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
Well, we're going to get into that in detail. But this went beyond that first encounter to an ongoing year-by-year relationship that allowed the Native Americans and the English to get along and not divide into serious warfare, which characterized much of the Virginia frontier, for instance, and especially Florida and other countries. It just changed it. Yes? He had a sword. Yes, that represented his authority. I don't think he ever actually used it on anyone. Now, some people, he was self-educated, but he taught himself English, Dutch, Hebrew, and Greek. Remarkable fellow. Some people have described the Puritans, there's an American writer called H.L. Mencken, and they describe the Puritans as somebody who's really worried that somebody else, somewhere else, is having a good time. And there is an element of that that's true about the Puritan culture. But you can see another side of it. I mean, you think about what he accomplished, there's a lot of elected officials that could do that well, don't you think?